Okay, in order for a nerve to work, we have to have two functions to it: irritability, which is the ability to respond to a stimulus, and conductivity, which is the ability to transmit. Now, we've discussed this before in when we did muscles with action potentials, so we're basically going to revisit the same thing. And then the nerve itself will need some sort of stimulation, which is the input, the neuro input, and then we'll follow the action potential model. And that is where there's a higher concentration of sodium on the outside and a higher concentration of potassium on the inside at rest. And then sodium rushes in as potassium leaves, as this signal is propagated down the axon. Now, I would recommend going back into the videos that I posted on action potential to revisit this, to get a reminder of what this looks like. Video paints 10,000 words. So I posted some great stuff on how this mechanism works. So please go back and review that. This shows the continuation of the depolarization, which is where sodium rushes in, potassium leaves, and then eventually followed by repolarization, where everything gets reset back to its resting membrane potential. Okay, we have the axon, and the signal that comes down hits the vesicles. Inside the vesicles are neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters cross the synaptic cleft, hit the postsynaptic membrane, and when that happens, the tissue is going to respond. And in this case, they're showing the neurotransmitters that are hitting the postsynaptic receptors, and when the ion channels receive that signal, they open up, allowing sodium to rush in. Okay, this is the depolarization. Sodium rushes in, followed by repolarization, where everything resets back to where it came from, where it's higher concentration of potassium on the inside and a higher concentration of sodium on the outside. Okay, with reflexes, they are considered a rapid, predictable, and involuntary response to a stimuli, typically a harmful or potentially harmful stimuli. This does occur over a reflex arc. It does involve the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. And reflexes are going to either be somatic, which means skeletal muscle was involved, like pulling your hand away from a hot object, or autonomic, such as your glands, saliva, pupillary reflex, digestion, blood pressure, sweating. For example, if you're hungry and you're smelling the most amazing home-cooked meal type thing, your body autonomically is going to start to respond to these different reflexes to prepare you for digestion. That is autonomic. You do not have control over that. It just does it for you. If you go into a dark room, your pupils will dilate. That is a reflex. And if someone turns the light on, your pupils will constrict. That's also a reflex. So those are considered autonomic. So we need 5 things in order for a reflex to occur. First, you need a stimulus, the hot object, the absence of light, the presence of food, and it has to reach a sensory neuron. Excuse me. It needs to synapse in the integration center. It needs to reach a motor neuron, and then the motor response, whether it's a muscle contraction or salivation or glandular release or whatever. Okay, on this side, on the left side, they are showing what happens when you strike a Golgi tendon organ and activate the muscle spindle. This is a patellar tendon reflex. You strike it, you're going to get the knee-jerk reaction. The signal will go through the sensory nerve. Now notice this is monosynaptic. Okay, it goes in the ventral horn of the gray matter. Synapses on the motor neuron, one synapse, and then you get your motor response, which is a knee-jerk reaction. This is considered one synapse, monosynaptic. On this side, it is showing a reflex based on pain fibers rather than proprioceptive fibers, which would be your naked nerve endings that will go into the sensory neuron, go into the dorsal horn, and I think I might have said ventral on this side. So this is the dorsal horn. So let's make that clear. Dorsal horn. Which is on the posterior aspect of the cord. Here's the anterior aspect, so that would make this the ventral horn. Okay, we're going to split hairs over that later on another lecture. So sensory input comes in and goes into the dorsal horn. And if you'll notice, the green association neuron, it gets synapsed upon, and then that will synapse onto the motor. So this is multisynaptic. Okay, and then you're going to get your motor response, which is pull your hand away from the harmful stimulus. Okay, there's your multisynaptic and monosynaptic.